Talk about a crazy day. We've got wild stories plus your questions. So let's get started. Screw your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
You know, one thing we've proven over the years, you and I, is we can handle the truth. There's a lot of truth out there, folks. One of the big truths is it has hit the fan. All it took was cerveza bug for me to go, yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done, right? Put a fork in it, folks. We're going to enter a new realm of how to live our lives. You can handle the truth, folks. And the truth is there's going to be a lot of pain, right? And we can get used to it now, or we can suffer more later. So my suggestion has been get prepared, start dealing with this stuff. And you guys have been right there with me the whole time. Thank you very much. I know you're helping others, folks, and I appreciate it. Our numbers are climbing on Patreon. Our numbers are climbing on YouTube, despite having a foot on our neck and one kicking us in the ass. Get ready for more, folks. Get used to the pain of SHTF. Now, the truth, good golly, I've got an immense story for you, and you're just gonna go, what? That's what your brain is going to say. But the other part of your brain that has to remain aware and making decisions on a minute-by-minute basis is going to go, oh, figures, ready for that now, pow. So here we are, right? Get your questions into Jolene. It's Thursday, late in the day. It's Thursday. We're almost to Friday. We've made it through another week of this. They haven't blown us all up yet. But they're working on it. Trust me, they're working on it. But get this truth. Are you ready? An activist was at a town hall meeting, confronted none other than mega douche Beto O'Rourke. Confronted him over exploiting dead children. Oh, no, I mean, on any other day, any other time pre-SHTF, that would have been just that right there. Someone stood up to Beto O'Rourke. Someone yelled out and interrupted a Democrat while they're speaking at a town hall. And I've never liked town hall meetings. I thought the format sucks, as if these are just regular people off the street who aren't handed a list of questions they get to choose to read from. Yeah, Mr. Candidate, I'd really like to ask you about the actuary tables for retirees. No, I don't think so. That's not your average American. Your average American is, how much is a gallon of gas? How much is a gallon of milk? What's the interest I can get so I can try and buy a home? What's the interest I can get so I can try and buy a car? Right? And how many fireworks can I afford with the disposable income that's left after I pay all this freaking taxes? There, that's Joe Sixpack. And I know I've oversimplified it, and I hope I didn't offend any six-pack drinkers out there. But let's continue. Just interrupting one of these jackasses at a town hall meeting, which are all staged and stage managed and scripted, bunch of crap. I mean, this show right here, this is improvisational satire and cynicism, well, at our best. So yeah, just interrupting him would have been news. But now we're in SHTF. This guy, right? This man, while Beto was speaking, and I'm sick of saying Beto. Isn't that a suppository you use sometimes? As Beto was speaking, a man named Alex Stein shouted, "Hey, Beto, why do you fantasize about killing children?" Now, running for Texas governor in today's town hall, Beto the douche had a larger crowd than I saw Joe Biden having running for president of the whole country. Beto's trying to put together a crowd. He's trying to trampoline bounce out of, well, the pits of nowhere politically to become a gubernatorial candidate. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to exploit the death of these children and get in front of cameras and make people think he actually cares. So Alex Stein says, hey, Beto, why do you fantasize about killing children? Does that sound radical to you? Did Beto actually fantasize about that? Good questions to ask. Beto has been exploiting dead children for political gain. So this man was removed from the BS town hall for disrupting this completely sick bastard. Now, how can I say he's a sick bastard other than what I've seen him do and you've seen him do? Here is a fact. It's not top secret, even though information you'll get on the Prepared Mind Network, you'll probably not get anywhere else. Certainly not everything we cover from A all the way to Z. You're not going to get everything we cover here because we cover a lot. I don't just cover one little story and talk about it ad nauseum and tell you it's super secret insider squirrel, decoder ring stuff. This is out there. You just got to dig around for it. And I want to thank everyone who does that. So this is a fact about Beto. As a teenager, Beto O'Rourke wrote a fantasy about murdering kids. So who should be elected as governor or president? Who is qualified for that? Someone who fantasizes about murdering children? Not Beto the Stain, folks. He is a danger to children. He has exploited them. He is a fruitcake. He is nothing but trouble. Unbelievable, folks. The left, none of them are good. This is why Beto didn't make it to the presidency, or at least the election last time. He's weak. He's ridiculous. He's stupid. He's not every man. He's got a very, very checkered past. Right? There's no way I could make it all the way to the presidential candidate thing. I couldn't. I'll try. Yeah, I'm a presidential candidate. But, you have to have some pretty clean shorts. Right? And it looks like Beto has shit himself his whole life. So, Democrats constantly hurting themselves. How about this? Michael Avenatti. Remember that guy? Michael Avenatti, sentenced to 4 years because he stole money. He screwed over Stormy Daniels. And you would think that she would be used to getting screwed over, as a porn star and all. Well, he told the judge that he took her case because he wanted to, quote, take down a sitting American president. Isn't this insurrection now that we know he has committed crimes, lied, committed fraud, stole? If his attempt was to take down a sitting president using fraud and criminal efforts and lies, then that is an insurrection, no matter how tiny or large it is, right? And he is admitted to this effort, trying to blackball, frame, exploit, extort, whatever he was trying to do to get Trump, right? He's admitted to he's admitted that the idea was to take him down, which takes down the country, which takes down the presidency, which makes us weaker. And folks, we want a good country, a strong country. We want to make America great again, do we not? And we have idiots like this trying to take it down. People like Beto, who fantasizes about killing children. People like Michael Avenatti, who tries using fraud to take down the president. Now, everyone, I'm not done. This is a shocker, as if what you have just heard, the story of Beto O'Rourke, the murderous fantasizer, and Michael Avenatti, the total jackass. We got another one, another Democrat. The Kentucky state candidate for the U.S. Senate wore a noose in a campaign ad, and he wants to exploit the concept of racism for his benefit. Pathetic, divisive, inflammatory. Folks, get used to the pain that these people are trying to cause. Whether it was Michael Avenatti a couple years ago, Beto O'Rourke for the last who knows how many years, and now this clown. His name is Charles Booker. He is Kentucky's latest Democrat that reads World Economic Forum socialist stooge. Kentucky's latest candidate to challenge Senator Rand Paul. This guy, Charles Booker, released a video in which he is featured wearing a noose around his neck, right? The video was an attempt to highlight, to bring up Rand Paul's opposition to a bill in 2020 that would have made lynching a federal hate crime. I believe lynching is a state and a federal crime just because it's murder. Using a rope to make it a hate crime, how is that going to fix anything, right? So basically, Booker comes out and he's using a incredibly divisive piece of history and trying to say it has application today, right? It appears that Booker wants to utilize racially charged imagery to elicit a political response during the 2022 midterms. Didn't we have enough racial crap from 2020? No, sorry. They're pushing it, folks. They're pushing the race angle, the race card, the racism, the supremacy, right? Now, the Senate candidate, by doing this, really makes it look like lynching is still happening today, right? Well, it isn't, or you'd hear about it on the news, trust me. If we want to take a look at history, though, and its cruelties, crimes, and the disgusting nature of it, how about the political party that candidate Booker is part of? The party that he is part of, the Democrats, support concepts held by governments that have resulted in the direct murder of over 100 million people in the last 100 years alone. His party supports the concepts and ideas, not to mention overall global depopulation, eugenicist, period. And he wants to talk about lynching, right? People of all nations, folks, and all races have been abused and killed by other races, other cultures, and also by their own people. For example, Vikings went to war with their own people in their own lands and also neighboring lands. And African warlords captured other African tribal members and sold them to the slave traders. It is a part of human history. But this clown wants to use it for political gain. I mean, why doesn't he run an ad showing Vikings killing people, saying, see, look at what white people do? Because it's not applicable. It isn't, folks. The examples are countless on many scales, but today, to use historical accounts of cruelty and murder to push a racial narrative for political gain and to claim fear still exists on those grounds is just filthy. It's chicken shit, it's divisive. What I would be concerned about if I was black, and I'm not, would not be the fear of whites and racists, but I would be fearful of government using its power to poison us, imprison us, exploit us, to bring us down and elevate themselves, right? And folks, government isn't a race. Government is a mentality of supremacy. Government is supremacist, not whites. Think about it that way. Government thinks it's supreme over all the people. Government thinks it's supreme and it will steal money and put in jail, in chains, anyone it doesn't like, regardless of race. I'm white and I fear the government most. Not blacks, not Hispanics, not Latinos, not Asians. I fear government because government has stated it's supremacist. It has acted supremacist. It always has through all of history, right? Government is a supremacist institution that hates people, folks, regardless of race. So let's knock the racial shit off. Well, you and I can, but for the rest of these clowns, they're pathetic. They're sick. Incredible. Now, I've got some good stuff for you guys. I think I've taken you down the dirty rabbit hole. Let's have a little bit of fun with a big bam. A Harvard graduate has walked out of the graduation ceremony. This student has passed. This student has graduated. The ceremony is ceremonial in nature only and doesn't require attendance. So a student gets up and walks out at Harvard. Why? Emma Husner. Sounds a little German to me. Emma Husner just walked out of graduation. This is what she tweeted. Just walked out of Harvard's graduation because I didn't want to listen to Merrick Garland talk about himself for 30 minutes. Folks, Merrick Garland, scumbag, U.S. Government Attorney General. He has labeled parents of children domestic terrorists for wanting a real education, respect for the Constitution, laws, traditions, and beliefs of traditional America. And he wants to call them domestic terrorists for voting against, rejecting, and speaking out against critical race theory, other racial radical movements, the fact that kids aren't getting a real education, and of course the LGBTs phenomena. So yeah, that's Merrick Garland. And this student was like, I'm not going to listen to him for 30 minutes blathering. Good for her. Just, it would have been beautiful to see him get announced, take the podium, and then she just stands up and leaves. She doesn't have to do the liberal, I'm going to throw a pie at you, shout you down. I think it's pretty funny that she just got up and walked out on the left. They need to be walked out on, walked away from. Get this. Oh, but wait, there's more, right? Over in Germany, right? Over in Deutschland, at Ramstein Air Force Base. Guess what they did? They canceled a drag queen event for families. That's right, folks. The U.S. Air Force was putting together a day reading for families with the drag queens. Unbelievable that they're still pushing this crap, folks, on children. They're not learning. They won't learn. They can't learn. All they want to do is groom children to be sexual toys. That's what it comes down to. They're still pushing this crap back, folks, especially on military families in foreign nations. Really? Foreign nations that have far more radical immigrants living close to the bases. How is that smart? Right? Now, Republican out of Florida, Senator Marco Rubio, is a man I've criticized because I don't think he is freedom-oriented enough. I don't believe he is for the people enough. I don't believe he's for Florida enough, but he's trying to do a good job. And I will commend him on this. He became one of that event, the Ramstein, let's go listen to a fruitcake, read a book, while dressed like a complete clown sexual stooge, right? He became that event's most prominent opponent. He wrote a letter last week to Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall and expressed his disapproval just prior to this event's cancellation, and the event was canceled. They said that the people that were doing it were not properly vetted. Oh, so you mean if they were fully vetted and I guess they weren't axe murderers, it'd be fine? Now, this is a terrific statement coming from Senator Rubio. He says, I urge you to immediately cancel this politically divisive event and take appropriate disciplinary action against all involved in allowing this gross abuse of taxpayer funding to place children in a sexualized environment. These inappropriate events are extremely divisive at home for good reason. In all cases, they place young children in close proximity with adults who are intentionally and explicitly sexualized. Senator Rubio, you get a big bam on that one. He cut through the bullshit nicely. Well done, Senator. Putting young children in close proximity with adults who are intentionally and explicitly sexualized. That's describing what this is about, right? It is a gross abuse of taxpayer funds to pay for this garbage and place children in an environment that is sexualized. I mean, when was the last time you heard of, not drag queen story hour, When was the last time you heard of stripper story hour? How about Chip and Dale's story hour? Oh, we can't do that. Oh my gosh, no, we can't have young college age women, wearing sexual garments and reading books in front of kids. Why not? I bet they love kids. Right? Well, it's dressed inappropriately or not dressed at all, right? Well, what do we think of these drag queens? Give me a freaking break, right? One comment, by the way, that showed up in this news article, because I enjoy the comments, folks. There's a lot of interesting points that commenters make. And that was, quote, if they can't kill them in the womb, then they will pervert, groom, and sexualize children. That wasn't Marco Rubio. That was just a regular human being making a point. We all see the truth, but we're all being put, folks, in the pain of this SHTF. America sees the perversion that the 1%, the powers that be, the Great Reset World Economic Forum wants. We see the perversions they want, and they want us to choke it down. Folks, these freaks are freaks, and they know they are not normal, and they have very special issues. They need to keep those very special issues in their own clubs and keep away from children. Right? I'm not saying they need to be erased from the map or shot in a rocket to the moon. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they need to keep that trash away from children who are developing mentally. I mean, how much psychology do you have to learn? It's not tricky. How much child development do you need to go through in college or at a real university, one that actually teaches how a child's mind develops, how they go from the very tight nuclear family to the extended friends and family to a school environment that is very protective and cautionary about their development and their need to learn academics. And that as they go through the process of learning and growing, they become socialized to others around them. And they'll see other types of families and other types of social interaction. And they slowly progress and grow until they become adults, mature enough to make intelligent decisions on their own behalf. Instead, they want to slam 3, 4, 5-year-old children down in front of a completely sexualized looking tramp. Just the strangest character that society has that isn't considered criminal. And then glorify that and glamorize it and say, you want to be like this. And then tell them you can be whatever you want. You can change your gender. All of this crazy crap, folks, it's done intentionally. And it is the most harmful thing you can do to children. Unbelievable. Now, get off my little high horse there for a couple of seconds. In Arizona, there is big news going on. The Attorney General of Arizona is going to conduct a news interview. Right? There's big news going on. There are serious crimes that are being, admitted to. I cannot talk about this stuff. I'm not allowed to by Google, YouTube, the internet. I'm not allowed to discuss it, but it is on Patreon. If you pay $2 a month, 7 cents a day for a membership, not only can you come on here live with me Monday through Friday and ask questions and engage and interact with mature thinking human beings who are looking at all this SHTF, right? You can get news stories and other videos on this material that I just can't talk about. There is some huge fraud, folks. Once the shit comes out of the horse, you can't stuff it back in, right? There is a wreck of a human being, folks, who is pleading guilty to massive fraud in Arizona. Check it out, folks. Check it out. Mr. Skylight, keep me appraised of anything else you find there. Same with you, Fuzzy. Same with you, Bonnie Blue. Same with you, John. Same with you, Frank. Everybody. Whew. Let us continue. Yeah, get used to the pain, folks. Russia is using Chinese ships and Indian refiners to stay ahead of the oil sanctions. And the European Union, folks, they're solidifying their anti-Russia position while at the same time continuing to buy Russian energy. But Russia, folks, is smartly going around the rules. And I think I want to make an interesting point here with you guys. Russia's going around the rules. They're selling their oil to China, who is sending it to India to have it refined also, to make sure the world gets their energy, right? So Russia's going around the rules, and aren't the rules stupid? Russia is the good guys because they break the rules, right? Well, we know they are wrong because the rules are supposed to be followed by governments, right? The rules, governments make rules for each other even, and they're supposed to be followed. Well, they're not following the rules. And by the way, Democrats hate the rules too, right? They go around the rules, they ignore the rules, they violate the rules as a matter of their everyday policy and their overall short, mid, and long-term agendas. The rules I speak of are called constitutional restrictions. The government, and especially Democrats, hate those rules, and they're always challenging them. They're always pushing against them, trying to get new rulings that give them more power. So why should you and I give a flying F at a rolling donut? Why should we care if Russia disobeys the rules of the US and the EU governments and they find a way to conduct business when our own government, the same US and EU governments, don't obey any of their own rules? They don't obey the rules, so why should we care if Russia violates them, right? In fact, let's look at it this way. What do you think if I said Russia breaking the rules helps people around the world get oil, get energy so they can go to work, grow food, have electricity, and live their lives? That's what Russia is doing, is providing the world with energy that the World Economic Forum, the US, EU, UK, all those governments want to stop. So go Democrats, right? Or is it go Russia and let's go Brandon? Folks, we are literally in the Great Reset. I keep hearing people, from economists to conspiracy theorists, from psychologists to name it, all the experts. They're like, the Great Reset is coming. The Great Reset is coming. No. They're all 100% wrong. The Great Reset has already been started. It was started, folks. If you want to pick a solid start date, March of 2020, with Cerveza bug, when shit hit the fan. That was the start of the Great Reset. It's not coming. It's already here. It's not an event. It's a process. It's nothing that we can avoid. It's something we have to survive. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Is Dr. Fauci an expert? Is the little man himself, is he an expert? What's he an expert in? Epidemiology, viruses, bacteria, bugs, right? That's his expertise, right? Apparently, he knows all about our rights as well, right? Screw your freedoms, right? That guy, Schwarzenegger, he's an expert too. All these people are experts. Well, Fauci says that Biden, his Department of Justice, asking the Federal Appeals Court to reverse the order lifting the airplane mask mandate. He's just come out. He confirmed that it's about preserving their power. That's all they care about, folks. Wearing a mask is not going to save anybody. It'd be like putting up a chain link fence to stop a swarm of mosquitoes from coming after you. It's not going to help. This mask mandate and the emergency powers are about just that, emergency power. They want to preserve that ability. Get used to the pain, folks. They're not going to let up. Yeah, you might say, I haven't seen the Cerveza bug issue in a long time. What's the big deal? Well, that is the big deal, right? They want their power. Now, I want to finish up my monologue. I'm going to go a little long, but something very important did happen, and it was announced today in Texas. There was an operation a law enforcement operation called Operation Lost Souls. And Texas authorities have rescued 70 children, folks, who were victims of sex trafficking. This is a 3-week operation. It started in late April in El Paso, Midland, Ector, and Tom Green counties. 70 children from age 10 to 17 were saved from trafficking, physical and sexual abuse. And this came from the Department of Homeland Security, right? This announcement. The rescuing, folks, of 70 humans, 70 children is terrific. They would have been lost to the world of evil. You know, like people who like to groom children for sex, right? They would have been lost to the world as if they were dead. Why is that not considered? The problem with children missing, why isn't that a bigger issue than mass gun shootings? Well, because there's no political agenda that the Democrats can take advantage of, especially since they need to get rid of the First and Second Amendments, right? 70 children. Yeah, 20-something people were killed in Uvalde. I get it. Bad. They just saved 70 children. That's a multiples in the other direction. It's multiples of times worse, folks, than the school shooting to have this many children go. Imagine how many more children, folks, are out there right now in that missing category. This was 4 counties only: El Paso, Midland, Ector, and Tom Green. There aren't just 4 counties in Texas, folks. There are thousands of counties in this country. It's got to be 1,000. Imagine 1,000 times 70. 70,000 children missing. What are those numbers we hear about? Missing children, right? Hundreds of thousands over the years. That's a lot more than 20 at this school and 10 at that school and 5 at another school here and there, right? There's a lot of children missing. It's a much bigger issue than gun control and schools, right? The sick part about this, folks, is that schools are the indoctrination and breeding grounds now for perverts, where they go and make more of what they want, right? They're infiltrating the minds of kids, acting and planting the seeds of perversion, encouraging kids to experiment with moral norms. And that's fine, I guess, right? Right? Now, when those delusional young minds that have been brainwashed by, drag queen story hour, cut your genitals off story hour, right? When these young delusional minds meet adults on the street or the internet, right? They discover a nice person who wants to meet with them. Yay. No, they're not a nice person. They're evil. And then these kids are getting snatched up silently and they disappear in the hundreds and in the thousands. And these people like Beto O'Rourke and Biden and Kamala and Pelosi and every one of these sick bastards, they want to go after the Second Amendment when there's thousands of kids out there that are being sex trafficked. They're being groomed every day in schools. Oh yeah, folks. These people are sick. Get used to the pain of SHTF. If they're willing to do that to kids, imagine what they're willing to do to all of us. That is why I say you need to get prepared, right? You need to get prepared. Meanwhile, the co-host on The View blames the rise in violent Christian nationalism for the mass shootings. Who are these people on The View and everywhere else in media? Who are they blaming for all the missing children that they're not willing to talk about? That's right. That's right. All they want to do is intimidate people, folks. Intimidate.
I worry it could begin to look like intimidation when it's at someone's doorstep. I'm someone.
It's so funny. So does what Alito wrote. Looks the same way to me. It looks like intimidation.
Well,
and yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
But it also shows Alito what it feels like to lose your freedom of choice. He cannot leave the house easily, so maybe that's a good lesson for them.
Intimidation.
He cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for them. To lose your freedom. It's a good lesson for them.
Obey.
It's kind of the same thing.
Are you ready?
Unbelievable, right? Welcome back. It's time for the second half of the show. Jolene, let's just jump right into it. Who wants to talk? We got Oregon Patriot. He says, he has a comment. He says, people are saying the Tulsa hospital shooter was crazy, but there's a big difference between being crazy and being in horrible pain and blaming the doctors who screwed you up and won't help. Okay, now what I know of this is that the shooter apparently was the patient of one of these doctors. The full story, are we going to get it? Will we ever get it? I don't know. But let me ask you some questions. I am not excusing, condoning the shooter. I'm not encouraging, inciting harmful or dangerous behavior. How many of you have had something wrong happen to you and you were helpless to do anything about it? You can't afford a lawyer. Lawyers won't take your case, right? The problem could be a doctor. Problem could be another lawyer. The problem could be government, a bureaucracy. Problem could be a store or a corporation making your life very difficult, right? The problem could be local government giving you a hard time over your home or your business. Like with Cerveza bug lockdowns. You thought, well, what options do I have? How can I stop this problem? How can I fix the problem? Or how can the person who did the wrong thing, how can they be punished? That's I think an important point that should be made, is how do you stop this, right? How do you fix the problem? This person thought that they would go and punish the doctor that caused them the pain, apparently, or something along those lines. And they've committed a horrifying act, right? Murdering someone. It's not the gun's fault. Man, what a mess we've got on our hands, folks. Yeah. The title of this video, Get Used to the Pain. I get it, folks. I've seen people in tremendous pain and loss, and it makes them act and say crazy things sometimes. It's a terrible tragedy. It's a terrible tragedy, and it's too bad that this guy wasn't able to get the help he needed for pain. But there are people who want to put us in pain. So this is a microcosmic view of pain and suffering and the consequences. So when you and I look at the macrocosmic, the big picture of pain and suffering and anguish, imagine an entire nation hungry because it's not getting the food it needs. Imagine an entire nation failing economically because it's not getting the energy it needs. Imagine who gets punished for it, who attacks who goes after who. That's where we're at looking at this. It's an oh my God moment, folks, when you look at the big picture. Little countries like Sri Lanka are feeling it. They're having riots, food riots. Shit has hit the fan, folks. Get used to the pain if you can. Certainly get prepared. Next question, please. We got a good audience here today, and I can't wait to see. It's Blue Cord Devil. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. He has a statement. He says, hearing every day more and more shortages in the medical field. Wife just had a CT. Should have had contrast, but they just had her drink 2 bottles of water instead. We're having some issues, are we not? Perhaps this guy that shot up the hospital couldn't get drugs, painkillers. Perhaps they weren't available. Perhaps the doctors have been told, hey, look, except in the most extreme cases, do not prescribe stuff because the pharmacy is getting low, right? Now, here's the deal. In March of 2020, one of the first discussions you and I had here on the Prepared Mind channel, when I poured a big, tall drink of scotch, lit up that big old Byron cigar and said, well, it's finally happened. One of our first conversations was shortages, supply line issues. When you stop manufacturing, you stop mining. When you stop producing, stop refining, you interrupt the supply chain. They've screwed up the supply chain on everything, including medicinal products, pharmaceuticals. They've screwed up the trucking. The distribution system is all jacked up. They're screwing up the energy system now. It's all jacked up. How are we, you and I, supposed to deal with all this? You're not gonna. We can't fix this, folks. We have to get prepared. You know, what else do they do with cerveza bug? When they started that, no more elective surgeries, no more regular maintenance, no more, right, preventative medical care. Everyone get out of the hospitals. Hospitals, they cut their staff, saved a bunch of money. Then hospitals started making sure everyone had cerveza bug and hospitalizing them so they got the maximum amount of money for the least amount of effort. This is all intentional, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely one of the most filthy things I've ever heard of. And they're willing to do more, folks. This is the Great Reset. It is already started. It is already here. We're already paying for it. And it's going to keep going. What did we say? We're going to have a recession. We're going to have a depression. We're going to have SHTF, and it's going to take 10 years to get through, at least, before we get to the other side and things can start looking up. What will America look like then? I don't know, but we're going to catalog it as we go, God willing, and we can keep the Prepared Mind on the air, on the internet. We're doing all we can. All right, Jolene, what do we got next? We got William C. Here's a prepper tip. Go to doctors and a dentist while you still have time. While there's time, while there's medicine, go to the doctor while you have the ability to travel on the streets without getting mauled. Yeah, I mean, we're not to that point, folks, where we've got, trouble everywhere. But it's recommended that you take care of your medical problems now while you can get elective surgery or processes, medical procedures taken care of. Do it now. Right? Putting it off. I understand why people do that. They want to save money and pay in cash. They fear doctors. They fear dentists. I get it. But getting yourself taken care of, very important. I did have a dental issue while in the RMZ that started. It didn't become a big problem until I got back to the States. I got it taken care of as soon as I could. Right? Don't let things get really bad because they can cause secondary and tertiary issues health-wise. Okay, thank you very much for that. Moving along, I want to make sure I get everyone's comments taken care of. I've got more stuff to talk about, but I want to take care of you guys as well. Get your questions in. This is your chance. I don't think you want to be a superstar, but I know you've got great ideas and thoughts. A lot of stuff is going on. Okay, we got Old Man River. He says, how do you think Zelensky will get it? Will he be shot, blown up, hung, or turned over to the people he has screwed over to be beaten to death? Okay. I'm going to approach this historically. There was a fascist dictator in World War II who ran his country like a private piggy bank and engaged in screwing over his own people as well as anyone else he could get hold of. And that was Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini was a fascist, just like Adolf Hitler. And what he did was he made sure he enriched himself and the people who donated to his political power, right? That's what fascists do. They have supreme authority, but big business, big banking gets to keep and own their factories and their property and their wealth. And then they in turn contribute money and participate in the public process. Political and public processes, right? Now, let's fast forward to 2014. Big business interests known as oligarchs in Ukraine wanted to get rid of the elected government and replace it with an installed government, a puppet government. And so they brought in the character Voldemort Zelensky is my nickname for him. Volodymyr. Right, this little turd of a man, skinny jeans wearing, light in the loafers, actor, folks, an actor. He is an actor. They brought him in, and he has been rewarded financially, put in charge of everything. And it's to help make these corporations and these oligarchs wealthy and powerful, and to make his country a dictatorship. And if you doubt that Ukraine is a dictatorship, who has now made it the policy of the nation to criminalize any, folks, and I mean any, criticism of the government, Zelensky, their motives, right? That would be Zelensky. He's acting like a dictator. He is taking money from corporations. He's got his power because of corporations. And he is a dictator, arresting anyone he wants and stealing their property, jailing them, etc., etc. In other words, Zelensky is very much like Benito Mussolini. Now, to carry on this idea some more, and thank you, Old Man River, for bringing it up. Benito Mussolini was captured at a time before the war was completely over, and he was hung by his toes. An interesting death, one that's always kind of stuck to my mind. My mother told me about it when I was very young, about Benito Mussolini. Pretty interesting, huh? That's the popularity of hanging someone by their toes. Did I say thumbs? I meant toes. Yeah, look out. He could disappear off the face of the earth. They may have body doubles for him, someone that'll stand in and take one to the back of the head. That could happen. Will they really want this clown of a puppet? Will they really want him to live a life of luxury and reward on some tropical island somewhere on the planet for doing such a fine job? Or will they, the powers that be, say, you know what? We're not real happy with you. You were supposed to win this war, this engagement against Russia. And folks, he's losing and losing badly. Right? Right now, Biden is trying to say, we're delivering missiles. We're going to deliver missiles. Why, at this stage of the game, is the United States government, the government, not the people? Why is the United States government going to send even more high-tech, long-range, mid-range, short-range, whatever range missiles into this country that has a military that doesn't like nor will obey Voldemort, but is fighting for their own survival at this point? Why would we want to send that in there when that country is now being torn apart and controlled by regional warlords, tribal warlords? What happens if and when they get their hands on all of these weapon systems? They can bring down jets, civilian jets. They could take those weapons and smuggle them into another country and take out the European Union headquarters. They could take out, that austere place in Brussels. I'm not recommending it, and I don't want to see it happen, but it could. So why are they doing that? It's an act of desperation to try and help Zelensky win. They want to win, folks. Have no doubts. They would love to win this against Russia. But can they? I've been following it very closely. Being honest with myself about the odds. What are the odds a little ragtag chicken shit army is going to defeat Russia, a nuclear superpower with hypersonic missile technology, with a much larger population, fighting in an area that is inhabited largely by its own people, ethnic Russians? What are the odds of Ukraine winning? Not real good. Right? I wouldn't put money on that table in Vegas. So, Voldemort is doing everything he can to guilt the world, cajole the world. He may even be blackmailing the Biden administration because of his son, Hunter Biden, who spent a lot of time, folks, in Ukraine after Voldemort took control of the country. Do you think there is even a small chance that Hunter engaged in illegal activities like, I don't know, smoking crack, smoking weed, snorting coke, engaging in sexual activities with all manner of women, including minors? Is that possible? And that Voldemort may have pictures of the same in order to control Hunter Biden, control the Biden family. Now, of course, Voldemort, he could have that, or it could have been turned over to the World Economic Forum or any other, shall we say, nefarious organization that doesn't have the best interests of America in mind in order to try and push them further and further to the limits, to the extreme, trying to win against Russia. I don't like knowing that the President of the United States could have this hanging over his head while he's deciding who to give missiles and rockets and guns and tanks and helicopters to. That is why we want a decent human being in the White House. But the rest of Washington, folks, is right there behind him. A bunch of scum. Oh, there's good people working there, folks, but the rest of us will never hear about them because they don't get to make the real decisions. They're not really in power. They're just there. They're just there. Great, great topic. Zelensky, I think, is just going to disappear and be blown up. I don't even think they're going to give him a public execution. Now, if the people catch him, that would be very public, and it would be publicized, and it would be on every social media channel you can think of. Look out. I would not want to be Voldemort now or yesterday or tomorrow. I'm sure his butt hurts. Okay, let us move on if we shall. Oh my gosh. Jolene, who do we have next? We have the heavy metal rocker. All right, checking in on the Prepper channel as the heavy metal rocker. I'm glad you signed up. I'm glad you're part of the show, man. He says this is done purpose bird flu, factory burning, it all done by globalists, climate changers, and vegans who don't want us eating animals. I tell you what, there is that angle, and they've been around a long time. The PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I think we all want animals to be treated ethically, right? But we are omnivores and we need both meat protein as well as vegetable protein and energy and nutrients, et cetera, et cetera. You know, sorry, we eat meat, but they don't like it. So they are the allies, folks. They are the allies of the globalists, even though the PETA types, the vegans, don't realize the globalists actually have no long range need for the vegans and the PETAites. They don't have any need for them. They don't consider them productive, useful, or anything else. They're just another set of mouths, another oxygen consuming, useless eating group of people. But they're useful idiots. Now, while the vegans and the violent, radical, terrorist PETA types out there, they're probably cheering the fact that so many food processing places have been taken down, whether they're small or big. But it's kind of funny. I don't see them on TV weeping and crying for the millions of chickens who were, killed over this bird flu thing, right? And that egg farm that caught fire, and it sure sounded like arson to me the way it happened. I wasn't there, and I have no evidence or proof to point to that. I got no proof, right? Just looking and listening. Where were the tears for all those egg-laying chickens that died? I mean, think about it, folks. Those chickens, they get to live in little cages, but they're safe. They're not being chased by children with sticks. They're not being chased by dogs. They're not being torn apart by raccoons or skunks. They're not being killed by foxes. There's no fox in the hen house. They just get to eat all day and lay eggs. That's what chickens' bodies do. They produce eggs. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what is it that a lot of humans do? Well, they just sit on their couch and eat food in a very small box and keep themselves entertained by chit-chatting on social media with their friends. That's just like chickens. They're surrounded by all their friends in their chicken ranch, right? And they're cackling and clucking and talking to each other while eating and making eggs. That sounds like a lot of these worthless humans. Except I'm not saying we need to kill all the worthless humans. That would be the globalists who want population reduction of what, 90%? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, The climate change people, same way. Every time a refinery explodes, every time a factory is burned to the ground, every time a chemical plant goes up in smoke, it pollutes the hell out of everything. You'd think they would be condemning that. Instead, they always seem to cheer destruction. Very interesting, no? Ooh, this is interesting. Thank you very much, Bonnie Blue. This topic, J.P. Morgan, John or James Piermont Morgan, one-time robber baron of the train industry, the rail industry of the 1800s, was so powerful that when he was pissed off at the president for passing some antitrust monopoly stuff, he was able to walk all the way up to the White House and bang on the door and then scream and yell at the president. James Piermont Morgan. J.P. Morgan, his legacy continues through the banking institution, J.P. Morgan. You've probably heard of it. Their CEO, Chief Executive Officer, is Jamie Dimon. He controls trillions of dollars, folks. He has, I believe, hundreds of millions of ounces of silver under his control, and I have no idea how much gold or anything else. He's an incredibly powerful individual in the banking industry. He is, if we are to believe Steve Mnuchin, former Secretary of the Treasury. He's part of the plunge protection team. He is warning of an economic hurricane, and he used the word hurricane specifically and says it's coming. You know, reap the whirlwind hurricane. Another big shot financial guy joined in this later in the day today. This is news from Thursday. Jamie Dimon saying there's a hurricane. What does that mean? Well, when you know a hurricane is coming, do you wait until it is upon you to put boards over the windows? Do you wait until the hurricane is blowing your car all over the road to try and drive to the store to buy food? Right? When it comes to economics, Jamie Dimon is very much like a weather forecaster on your TV. And if the weather forecaster is saying there's a hurricane coming, you should probably take note and get prepared. Now, we do know that news reporters like to pretend like things are much worse than they are. Like the news reporterette that was broadcasting, being recorded, sitting in a canoe in a flood zone, pretending like there was feet and feet, dozens of feet of water just inundating this town, and two firemen walked behind her. It was ankle deep water. Right? We know that weather people are every bit as full of shit. Every bit as full of shit, right, as the news announcers in the studio, and every bit as full of shit as the political people in state capitals and the Washington, D.C. capital. But in this case, hard to see how Jamie Dimon is wrong, right? What does he stand to gain is a question I always ask when I hear Jamie Dimon's lips move, right? The banks, including J.P. Morgan, have made their billions, if not trillions of dollars off of market activity. And they've done so for years and decades. He gets to say if anyone is ruined financially. Well, I tried warning everybody. I said there's an economic hurricane coming. My contention is, folks, the economic hurricane has been here a long time, but the Federal Reserve, through its activities of cash printing, quantitative easing, covering their own asses, they've essentially been holding open a very, very large umbrella for the banks to find protection under. But that has failed ultimately, folks. We now have massive inflation upon us, and they're having to raise interest rates. We do have a financial storm coming, whether you want to call it a tornado, a hurricane, or maybe a cyclone bomb or a polar vortex of economy problems. It's coming. So putting yourself in a position where you've got food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan is advisable. We've talked about it for a long time without Jamie Dimon saying it. Now Jamie Dimon is saying it. Probably good advice to heed at this point. Hey, chance favors the prepared mind, right? Aren't you glad you are a prepper? Thank you again for supporting the channel, folks. Thank you for your donations through the Cash App button. Thank you for donations through the PayPal button. Everything helps. Every dime, every nickel, every dollar, it all adds up, and it makes sure that the prepared bunker exists, that I can be here with you guys, or I could be in Studio A or Studio B or on the U-308 submarine or in Uman's shop. Wherever I am, you guys are the ones making it possible. So thank you very much. If you're not a member of Patreon, it's easy to do, and you get a whole lot more information. You get to participate on a daily basis. So thank you again. And wow, what a week. We'll be back tomorrow morning fresh with more stuff, more SHTF, more pain. Folks, get used to the pain if you can. Do all you can to minimize the pain by being a prepper. Go to thepreparedmind.club. Check out what we've got there. You need to communicate. You need to get radios so you get information when the hurricane comes. Go to thepreparedmind.club. You need food to eat when the hurricane comes. Go to thepreparedmind.club and check out long-term food storage. In fact, everything you need to be prepared. Everything you need. Godspeed to you all, and Semper Fi.